Imagine standing on a green hillside, the warm Galilean sun on your skin, a gentle breeze rustling through the olive trees. A crowd has gathered, a sea of faces filled with hope, curiosity, the deep ache of human longing. They have come to hear a man whose words are unlike any they have ever heard before. This man is Jesus. His voice carries a message that will echo through the ages, a message of profound love and radical transformation. His ministry was not just a series of speeches, it was an invitation into a new reality, a new way of seeing God, each other, ourselves. He spoke with a gentle authority that calmed the troubled and challenged the powerful, offering a kingdom not of this world, one that could begin right here, right now, in the human heart. His teachings were revolutionary, turning the world's values completely upside down. He didn't come with a sword or a scepter, but with a message of peace and reconciliation. He walked among the ordinary people, the fishermen, the tax collectors, the sick, the forgotten. He saw the inherent dignity in every single soul. The importance of his ministry cannot be overstated. It was a divine interruption into the course of human history. When Jesus spoke, he didn't use complicated theology or philosophical jargon. He used simple stories, parables drawn from everyday life. Farmers sowing seeds, women baking bread, shepherds searching for lost sheep. His words were like seeds themselves, planted in the soil of hungry hearts, promising a harvest of joy, peace, righteousness. He wasn't just teaching a new set of ethics, he was revealing the very character of God the Father, a Father who loves his children with a relentless and unconditional passion. This message, delivered over 2,000 years ago, remains as relevant and life-changing today as it was then. Understanding his ministry is the first step on a beautiful journey of faith, a journey that promises to unlock a life more abundant and more filled with love than we could ever imagine on our own. It is a journey into the very heart of God. Perhaps the most powerful collection of Jesus' teachings is found in what we call the Sermon on the Mount, recorded in the Gospel of Matthew chapter 5, chapter 6, chapter 7. This wasn't just a sermon, it was a manifesto for a new kind of kingdom. Jesus sat down on that mountainside and began to describe a life radically different from the one most people were living. He wasn't just adjusting the old rules, he was revealing the heart behind them. He called people to a righteousness deeper than outward appearances, a righteousness that began in the hidden places of the heart. At the very core of this sermon is a powerful call to love. It wasn't enough to simply avoid harming others. Actively love them, seek their good, show them mercy and grace. He challenged the conventional wisdom of an eye for an eye, which only leads to a world of blindness. Instead, he offered a new way. Turn the other cheek, go the extra mile, give freely to those in need. This was a startling message. It meant letting go of our right to retaliate, choosing the path of forgiveness and grace, reflecting the very heart of our Heavenly Father. Humility was another cornerstone of his message on the Mount. While the world values power, status, self-promotion, Jesus declared that the kingdom of heaven belongs to the poor in spirit, the meek, the mourners, those who hunger and thirst for righteousness. True greatness is found not in exalting ourselves, but in humbling ourselves. It is in our emptiness that we become open to being filled by God. He instructed us not to worry about our daily needs, but to seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well. The Sermon on the Mount begins with one of the most beautiful and beloved passages in all of Scripture, the Beatitudes. These are not commands but blessings. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. This isn't about being financially poor, but about recognizing our spiritual bankruptcy before God, the complete dependence on God's grace. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. This is a tender promise to everyone who has ever felt the sting of loss, sorrow, or the brokenness of the world. It assures us that our tears are seen by God and that He Himself will be our comfort. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. The meek are not the weak, they are the ones who have their strength under control. They are gentle. The blessings continue, painting a picture of the character of a citizen of heaven, those who hunger for righteousness, the merciful, the pure in heart, the peacemakers. In doing so, we show that we are truly God's children, reflecting His own character. In his sermon, Jesus made it clear that He did not come to abolish the Old Testament law, but to fulfill it. He wanted to show people the true, deeper meaning that the law had always pointed toward. It was never just about a checklist of external behaviors. It was always about the condition of the heart, Jesus took several of the well-known commandments and expanded them, showing that God's standard of righteousness touched not only our actions, but also our innermost thoughts and attitudes. This was a radical shift, moving the focus from outward conformity to inward transformation. For example, he said, "You have heard that it was said to the people long ago, 'You shall not murder.' But I tell you that anyone who is angry with a brother or sister will be subject to judgment." Jesus was teaching that the root of murder is anger. He was pulling back the curtain to show that sin begins long before the physical act. It begins with the anger, contempt, unforgiveness we harbor in our hearts. He called his followers to deal with conflict quickly, to seek reconciliation, to guard their hearts from the poison of unresolved anger. He applied this same principle to the commandment about adultery. "You have heard that it was said, 'You shall not commit adultery.' But I tell you that anyone who looks at a woman lustfully has already committed adultery with her in his heart." Again, Jesus was going straight to the source. He taught that true faithfulness isn't just about avoiding a physical act. It's about purity of heart and mind. He called for a level of personal integrity that governs not only what we do, but also what we allow our minds to dwell on. This teaching calls us to honor others, not just with our actions, but with our very thoughts, seeing them as precious individuals created in God's image. This higher calling extends to our very speech. Jesus addressed the common practice of making oaths, urging his followers to be people of such integrity that their simple yes or no would be enough. All you need to say is a simple yes or no. Anything beyond this comes from the evil one. In essence, he was calling for a life of complete and utter truthfulness. We shouldn't need to swear by heaven or by earth to be believed. Our character should be our bond. This deeper interpretation of the law is not meant to burden us, but to free us. It frees us from the hypocrisy of looking good on the outside while our hearts are far from God, inviting us into an authentic, wholehearted relationship with Him. Perhaps the most challenging and, honestly, countercultural teaching in the entire Sermon on the Mount is Jesus' command regarding our enemies. In a world that operated on the principle of an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth, which was basically a system of balanced and justifiable retribution, Jesus presented a completely different way. He said, "You have heard that it was said, 'Love your neighbor and hate your enemy.' But I tell you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you." That's Matthew chapter 5, verses 43 to 44. This command must have really stunned the crowd. It goes against every natural human instinct for self-preservation and justice, doesn't it? It is a call to a supernatural kind of love, a love that honestly can only come from God. Jesus didn't just issue this command, He actually provided the reason for it. He continued, "That you may be children of your Father in heaven. He causes His sun to rise on the evil and the good and sends rain on the righteous and the unrighteous." That's Matthew chapter 5, verse 45. Our love for our enemies is meant to be a reflection of God's own character. God does not withhold the blessings of sunshine and rain, the very elements of life, from those who disobey or reject Him. His common grace extends to everyone. When we choose to love those who have wronged us, we are acting like true children of our Heavenly Father, mirroring His own indiscriminate and merciful love to the world. This love isn't just a feeling, it's a choice and an action. Jesus tells us to pray for those who persecute you. Prayer is, honestly, one of the most powerful acts of love we can perform for an enemy. It forces us to bring that person before God, to see them through His eyes. This act of prayer can actually begin to soften our own hardened hearts and break the cycle of bitterness and retaliation. It's an act of spiritual defiance against the powers of hatred and division, choosing instead to bring God's light into the darkest of human relationships. The true test of a heart transformed by God is its capacity to love the unlovable, to extend grace to those who have hurt us, and to forgive those who seem unforgivable. This radical, enemy-loving command is not just an ethical ideal. It is, really, the very signature of a true follower of Christ. It is the mark of a heart that has been truly touched and changed by the unconditional love of God. Throughout His ministry, Jesus was often tested by religious leaders who tried to trap Him with difficult questions about the law. On one such occasion, an expert in the law asked Him, "Teacher, which is the greatest commandment in the law?" This was debated among scholars for centuries, with over 600 commands to choose from. Jesus' answer was simple and profound. He did not pick an obscure rule. Instead, He went straight to the heart, a single, powerful principle: love. It was a moment of stunning clarity that silenced his questioners. Jesus replied, "Love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment." This is the vertical dimension of our faith. Our primary purpose, the reason for our existence, is to love God. This love is not passive. It is all-encompassing. It involves our heart, the seat of emotions and desires, our soul, our very essence, our mind, our intellect and thoughts. It means orienting our entire lives around Him, making Him the center of our affections, the focus of our worship, the subject of our thoughts. It is total and complete devotion. But Jesus did not stop there. True love for God must overflow into our relationships. So He added, "Love your neighbor as yourself." This is the horizontal dimension of our faith, and it is like the first. The two are inextricably linked. Our love for neighbor makes our love for God visible. The standard is simple: love others with the same care, concern, regard. He concluded, "All the law and the prophets hang on these two commandments." What a powerful statement. Jesus distilled hundreds of laws into one central theme: love. Every rule about worship, sacrifice, justice, morality was meant to teach love. If we get these two right, everything else falls into place. This great commandment is not a burden, but an invitation to a life where love is the guiding principle, the highest goal, the ultimate fulfillment of all that God desires for us. As Jesus' time on earth drew to a close, He gathered His closest disciples in the upper room for one final meal. After humbly washing their feet, He gave them what He called a new commandment. This command would become the defining characteristic of His followers. "A new command I give you, love one another. As I have loved you, so you must love one another." Not entirely new, love your neighbor as yourself, but Jesus raised the standard, "As I have loved you." By this, everyone will know that you are my disciples, if you love one another. This love is a witness to the world. Being a disciple of Jesus is so much more than just believing a set of facts about Him. The word disciple literally means a learner or an apprentice. It implies actively following our teacher, learning from His example, striving to become more like Him every single day. It is a journey of transformation. It's about inviting Jesus to be the Lord of our lives, allowing His teachings to shape our thoughts, words, decisions, actions. It means surrendering our own will, choosing to follow His will, trusting that His way is always the best way for us. A true disciple is someone who lives out the teachings of Jesus. It's one thing to read the Sermon on the Mount, and another to put it into practice. A disciple actively seeks to be merciful, seeks to be a peacemaker, seeks to be pure in heart, seeks to love even their enemies. We take the Great Commandment seriously, striving to love God with our entire being and to love our neighbors as ourselves. It's a daily choice to reflect the character of Christ at home, at work, in our communities. It is a practical, hands-on faith that makes a tangible difference in the world around us. Discipleship also involves a commitment to community. Jesus did not call His disciples to follow Him in isolation. He called them together, a group of very different people who had to learn to live with and love one another. We are called to be part of a church, a family of believers, who support one another, encourage one another, challenge one another. In this community, we practice forgiveness, bear one another's burdens, learn to love as I have loved you. Ultimately, being a disciple is about abiding in Jesus. He used the metaphor of a vine and its branches. "Remain in me, as I also remain in you. No branch can bear fruit by itself, it must remain in the vine. Neither can you bear fruit unless you remain in me." A disciple understands we cannot live this life on our own strength. We need to stay connected to Jesus through prayer, through reading His Word, through fellowship with other believers. It is only by drawing our strength from Him that we can produce fruit. Fruit, love, fruit, joy, fruit, peace, fruit, all the other qualities that mark a true follower of Christ. This shared life sharpens and strengthens our faith. We walk the path of discipleship together, not alone. The radical teachings of Jesus, delivered on a dusty hillside 2 millennia ago, are not just historical artifacts. They are living words, as urgent and necessary for our world today as they were then. In a world so often marked by division, anger, and fear, the message of Jesus offers a path to healing and hope. His call to love, humility, and forgiveness is the antidote to the poisons of hatred, pride, and bitterness that cause so much pain in our lives and in our society. These teachings are not merely inspiring ideals, they are a practical guide for navigating the complexities of modern life with grace, courage, and compassion. Imagine what our communities would look like if we took the Sermon on the Mount to heart, Imagine workplaces where people sought to serve rather than to get ahead, where integrity was more valued than profit. Imagine families where forgiveness was offered freely and quickly, and where love was the guiding principle in every interaction. Imagine a world where we prayed for our adversaries instead of cursing them. This is the world Jesus invites us to help build, one small act of love at a time. His teachings empower us to be agents of light and peace right where we are, transforming our little corner of the world from the inside out. Living out this message begins with a simple, personal choice. It begins when we decide to follow Jesus, to become his disciple. It means opening our hearts to his love and allowing his Spirit to begin the slow, steady work of changing us to be more like him. It won't always be easy. There will be times when our old instincts to be selfish or to seek revenge will rise up. But in those moments, we can remember his words and his example. And we can ask for his strength to help us choose the better way, the way of love. Every day presents us with new opportunities to practice being merciful, to practice being a peacemaker, to practice loving our neighbor. The message of Jesus is, ultimately, a message of hope. It is the hope that we are deeply loved by God. It is the hope that forgiveness is possible, both to receive and to give. It is the hope that we can be part of something bigger than ourselves, participating in God's great work of redeeming and restoring the world. The teachings of Jesus are not a heavy burden, but a joyful invitation to a more abundant life. They are a call to a life filled with meaning, purpose, and a profound connection to our Creator and to one another. May we all have the courage to listen to his voice and the grace to live out his beautiful, life-changing message today and every day.